Well, it's a quality sequel from the same director as the first movie, but it can't quite escape the did we really need it sequel syndrome. And yes, I know I'm a little late to this party. This movie came out quite a while ago. However, it was one of the movies that was dramatically affected by delays due to the pandemic. But pleasant surprise, it's actually available on Amazon Prime Video. I just noticed it there yesterday. So you can watch it for free if you have a Prime membership anyway. That's pretty cool. A Quiet Place Part 2 makes no attempts to be something it's not. It is the direct sequel to A Quiet Place, and if you haven't seen that movie in a while, I highly recommend rewatching it again before you check this movie out. After a quick prologue sequence that actually shows the very first day when the aliens show up, this story picks up seconds after the first movie ended. And it actually took me a little bit to remember things, something that could have been avoided had I rewatched the first movie. The story is simple as the surviving family members take shelter in a neighboring farm, and the deaf daughter sets out on a bit of a personal quest to put to use on a larger scale that hearing aid that her dad made her since it's so effective at messing with the aliens' hearing. And Mom, played again by Emily Blunt, holds down the fort with her son and the newborn baby. Alien attacks happen, people run and scream and die, and it all has a great quality to it, and that's because John Krasinski has proven he knows what he's doing behind the camera. And in front, as he pops up in that prologue sequence, which if you've spent any time on social media in the last few months, you've probably been smashed over the head with advertisements for it. And while it's easy to see the quality in this movie, it's really hard to not ask, why? The first one really was a great little horror movie that pretty much hit all the right marks, and it gave us an ending that was great due to its open-endedness. Being able to imagine what might happen next for these survivors and with the discovery of that hearing aid and how effective it is against the aliens was part of that first movie's charm. But now that we've got this definitive answer for what actually comes next, it's hard to not feel a little disappointed. Not because it was a bad idea, but because it's not what was in our imaginations. There really are two stories going on here, one with the daughter and the new cast member, played fairly well by Cillian Murphy, and then the other story is about the mom going to the pharmacy. Huge props to the way that those two stories are presented. The direction and editing are very entertaining in the way that the two stories sort of mimic each other with the events that are going on in parallel. There is one sequence in the movie that has to do with characters not being able to breathe in both instances, and you would think that it would come across corny, but it was actually very effective and intense, and it's easy to appreciate that setup. And sure, Emily Blunt is in this movie. Like I said, she goes to the pharmacy. That's kind of her only purpose here, which was another huge disappointment, especially if you're as big a fan of Emily Blunt as I am. The story really focuses on the son and daughter's storylines, and I'm not gonna lie, that was a bit of a bummer. I mean, they're both fine, but I didn't feel like they could both hold up the entire movie. When it comes to the ending, I'm not going to spoil it, but because I liked the ending of the first one so much, this one's far worse because it just sort of ends very abruptly. Tense scene, build up, resolution, and then credits. Okay. I probably wouldn't have minded it so much if, again, I hadn't liked the first movie's ending so much. It kind of feels like they dumped all over the first film with it. A Quiet Place Part 2 is a tense little second horror outing from a great director that I will give a 7 out of 10. It has its ups and downs, and it has some creative ways of dealing with sound. But they do feel sort of second fiddle since the first movie did that, and it was just so darn good. So what about you guys? Like I said, I'm late to the party, so if you've seen this movie, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.